Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
The Chinese have come calling with a tough message to India on our borders in Ladakh. This has presented Narendra Modi as Prime Minister most certainly his biggest crisis to deal with. It's much bigger than coronavirus crisis because that is within the country, that also unfolds slowly. So this is a big crisis. How does he deal with it? So can we game Narendra Modi's mind? Usually, Narendra Modi takes great pride in being very unpredictable and surprising everybody. Nobody imagined demonetization will happen. Nobody imagined suddenly a lockdown will happen and that kind of lockdown will happen. Nobody imagined, for example, that Yogi Adityanath will become the Chief Minister of a state as important and big as Uttar Pradesh. There were many other names being speculated. So Narendra Modi loves to surprise you. This, however, is one moment where we are daring to say that we can try to game his mind. Because the situation he's facing right now, it's not so important why Xi Jinping is doing what he's doing. He could be doing it because for tactical reasons that the China doesn't like India's infrastructural development in border areas. So far, India had remained very backward in that field. It can be regional strategic, which was my earlier impression and my presumption that after India abolished Article 370, declared Ladakh a union territory, issued a fresh map showing Aksai Chin as its territory and made an assertion in parliament that they were going to get it back. China had to give a message. That's been my view and I wrote that in an earlier national interest, even saying that this was known it was even known when the Chinese would do it, which means when the snows melt in the Himalayas. But there is also a third view that we have mentioned, which is that this is China just telling all its neighbors that, look, I now have the muscle and this is the moment where I have the muscle and the moment to reset my borders as I wish. So what it's doing in South China Sea, a reflection of that it's now doing on its land borders with India. So China is now giving trouble. It's pushing around all its non-surrogate neighbors. What is surrogate neighbors? You can say Pakistan, North Korea. At this point, because India is the issue and India is the target, Nepal. So all the others right now are in trouble. Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, Australia, Japan, everybody. But still it doesn't matter so much because what has he done? He has thrown the gauntlet at Narendra Modi. He's trying to see how would Narendra Modi respond. Now, Narendra Modi also knows it. So what are Narendra Modi's dilemmas? That's how we game his mind. His dilemmas are not very different from what, say, any of his predecessors were dealing with the security in the subcontinent. Starting with Nehru. His dilemma is, I have two hostile neighbors. So does India have to live with a two-front situation forever? Is that India's fate? Number two, can India get out of this two-front situation by making peace with one of the two? Third, if India were to make peace with one of the two, which one of the two is it more likely to be? And fourth, if India has to live in this hostile environment, can India do it all by itself? Now, Jawaharlal Nehru faced the same dilemma in 1962 when he reached out to America for help. Americans were willing to help, but then he was shy of getting into a closer embrace with America, even Kennedy's America. And then by the time he declined and he left, the usual Indian ideological left-center ideological group took over and it was forgotten. Then India aligned with the Russians. Mrs. Gandhi was the realist because she realized that if she had to fight Pakistan in 1971, create Bangladesh, but so two things were needed. One, she had to keep the Chinese off her back, at least for the period of that war. so she could remove her forces from the China frontier to create this sufficient amount of superiority she needed against Pakistan, especially in East Pakistan. And second, to keep the Americans away from causing too much imbalance in the subcontinent. For that, she reached out to the Soviet Union at that point. She signed the Treaty of Peace, Friendship and Cooperation with the Soviet Union. So she went to war in 1971, effectively under a Soviet security umbrella. And remember, this was the peak of the Cold War. So she made that choice then. After that, India has gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. India today has a situation where it calls itself a natural strategic ally of America. At the same time, it wants complete strategic autonomy. At the same time, it's a member of the Quad, which is obviously led by America and meant to balance China. But still, you can see that it's been a little bit gingerly in the way it has interacted with it. The other dilemma, as I said, his predecessors have faced is how do we break out of this triangulation? So you can either make peace with China or make peace with Pakistan. Dr. Manmohan Singh thought it was easier or less difficult to try and make peace with Pakistan. We are a bit more similar. Each side has got what it wanted to take. That was his presumption. And also, globally, global powers have greater leverage with Pakistan than with China. Also, all the world powers have a great shared vested interest in changing the essential nature of Pakistan's polity. You don't want Pakistan, a nuclear weapon armed country with 20 crore of the world's angriest Muslims, being a nuisance for everybody or a global migraine. So he went in that direction. That doesn't work with Narendra Modi's politics, because his politics now within India is Pakistan as the enemy, terror as the big enemy. So is he then willing to shift his terror, his anti-terror strategy, his emphasis on terror as the main strategic threat to China as the main strategic threat? If he does so, then other areas open up. The second thing we must remember is that peace is made between two unequal powers when the stronger power wants to make peace. It doesn't happen when the weaker power wants to make peace. Then you make a calculation between India and China. Does China have such a great incentive in making peace with India? Between India and Pakistan, does India have such an incentive to make peace with Pakistan? Those calls will now have to be taken. So India, Narendra Modi's India now has to deal with these dilemmas. In some ways, his dilemma is just like Jawaharlal Nehru's. Jawaharlal Nehru also was given a grave provocation by the Chinese. In his case, though, provocations had gone on for 3 years, between 1959 and 62. And finally, he got so harassed by his critics within his cabinet, in the opposition, and by the overall pressure, public opinion saying, kuch karo, why aren't you doing something? The Chinese are doing this. That he finally, in exasperation and anger, said, I've told my army to throw out the Chinese. And we know what happened. If you go to war unprepared, in a fit of anger, you know what happens. Now, that is a dilemma that Narendra Modi has now. We know that he has built his politics, not just he, but also his ideological and political parents, that is the BJP and RSS. They have built their entire politics as not being Nehru, as being not just being anti-Nehru, but as not being Nehru. Oh, we will not do anything like Nehru did, because they blame Nehru for a lot of things that went wrong in India. Now, in this situation, when Narendra Modi faces the same challenge and the same moment of truth as Nehru faced in 1962, what does he do? How does he respond now, dealing with the same dilemma, so he does not sound like Nehru? So, one tempting thing would be, I will not sound like Nehru, I am well prepared, I will go to war, I will teach the Chinese this time, and people of India will see the difference between a Nehruvian style and the hard Narendra Modi style. He has to be very confident to do that. Or it can be, which is my view, national interest is my opinion, which is my view, that Nehru, in disgust, anger, resentment, frustration, whatever, saying I have told my army to throw out the Chinese, was an act not of bravery or courage. It was an act of weakness, because he was not able to handle what was the criticism he was facing internally in India. Because leaders are defined and leaders are judged by history, not in terms of whether they followed the mob's advice or not, or whether they followed, these days, social media's demands or not. If you held an opinion poll in November of 2008, when 26/11 took place, should India go to war with Pakistan or not, you would have got an overwhelming opinion that India should go to war with Pakistan. But that government decided to follow strategic restraint, which is what Vajpayee had also done in the past with Pakistani provocations. So strategic restraint can also be a policy, and as we can see, people of India rewarded UPA 1 for that restraint, among other things. So these are a couple of choices that Mr. Modi has right now, and he has to make these choices, because unlike Nehru, he has some very big advantages. One, he has no critics within his cabinet. In fact, nobody even raises a question to him in his cabinet. He can take any decision. All his cabinet colleagues would do is to breathlessly retweet them or retweet them with endorsement and wish him more success and glory. Second, his opposition is much weaker, both in numbers and intellectually, than Nehru's was in National Parliament. Also, National Parliament now is not as much of a force, not a fraction of the force as it was at that time. So he's got all these things on his side. He can take a deep breath and take a decision. But we know, and he knows it most importantly, that the decision he takes now will determine the fate of India for the next many decades. It will also determine the future of his legacy and his own place in history.